Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
You know, it's not the presents or the lights or the trees. It's the spirit of Christmas that makes this time so precious. Merry Christmas, everyone. Right now, here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Call in and good morning to you. And a good morning to you and yours. I'm Zeb Bell. Zeb at the Ranch on a snowy, blowy morning. And, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with the best of tires for wintertime driving. And also some of our great advertisers, including Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lovely lady right there. Merry Christmas to you, and I hope we see you tomorrow. God bless you and have a wonderful day.
And Merry Christmas to you, too.
Oh, thank you. I love that gal. She's really a nice, nice lady. Weather forecast. Yeah, well, let's take a listen and see what it's going to be right after I tell you about K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn. Right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. They've got the best of tools and equipment. They've got all the heaters. Boy, I tell you, with the temperature dropping at night, maybe you need some things to keep warm, stay warm. They've got them. All the sewer snakes. They've got everything over there with Roger and the crew at K&R Rental. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
More snow is in the weather forecast, and we are in a winter weather advisory. Here's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch. Mostly cloudy skies for this morning. We are expecting accumulations of up to 2 inches, and it's going to be breezy, so that means we're going to have some blowing snow throughout the day. We are expecting a high of 35 and gusts as high as 35 miles an hour. For tonight, partly cloudy skies, still going to be breezy, so that means that blowing snow. Patchy freezing fog after midnight. Low expected right around 15, and winds out of the west up to 25 miles an hour. For tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, patchy freezing fog in the morning, expecting a high of 34, partly cloudy, and 22 for tomorrow night. By Friday, mostly sunny and 37. Looks like mostly cloudy for Friday night, low of 19. Then by Saturday, partly cloudy skies, highs expected in the mid-30s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina, and I appreciate it. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental. They wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas season. Stop in for any of the tools and equipment you need. Maybe you're putting all the Christmas toys together. Stop over to 256 South, 600 West of Hayburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. Number to call, 678-3122. Wow. It's a little nasty out there. I was talking to Wheels about 10, 15 minutes ago, and it was a little tough driving to work, and I just want to urge everybody to be careful. Here, it's not bad. The wind's blowing a little bit, but it's relatively clear, and you can see a long way out my office window, but be careful. Be careful out there. Don't forget, Our dear friends at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Oh, yes, sirree, Bobby. All your heating, cooling, and electrical needs. Not bragging, that's a fact. And with people that really know what's going on in that industry. They're the sharpest. They've been in business for over 6 decades of serving you. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday. The best of warm winters and cool summers at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Okay, that leads me up to tomorrow. We are going to be broadcasting live and direct tomorrow for the entirety of the program at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Don't forget the old-fashioned Denny's Christmas party. We are going to be there. Christmas carols and the wonderful music of Ashley Ludlow singing Christmas carols and lots of prizes. Santa Claus. I talked to Santa Claus this morning, and he's all set to come down. And Loot in the Boot to help the needy families. All of this tomorrow at Denny's Restaurant, where you can get the best of breakfast, lunch, and dinner anytime, all the time at 611 North Overland in Burley. Denny's Restaurant. Yes, sirree, Bobby, America's Diner. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. We have got a lot to get into this morning, and I'm not going to pull any punches. We saw a true picture of what Schumer and Pelosi and the Democrats are yesterday as Schumer and Pelosi met with President Trump in the White House. And sitting in the background and not saying anything or moving was Vice President Pence. But it showed on national television yesterday that the Democrats, led by Schumer and Pelosi, are spoiled little children. They are. That have lied and cheated us. From the original intent of the money that was supposed to be spent on the border wall and border security, hold on, caller, I'll be right there, I promise, of over $26 billion, now they have whittled and hassled and cajoled down to 1.3? Are you kidding me? This is a ridiculous mess. The Democrats have had so many backouts because they want the borders open to welcome all in here as potential voting on the Democratic ticket. I'll discuss much more of this in just a moment. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning. It's the Yummy Man. Today we're having Spanish rice and meat sauce, mixed fruit, and yummy homemade cookies.
Oh, boy. That is my weakness, Christmas cookies, and it sounds to me like it's going to be a great meal. And if they want to take out, how do they go about doing that, Joe?
Just call 208-878-8646. They'll have it ready for you at noon to take out.
All right, the Senior Junction.
$5.
All right, only $5, and the Senior Junction with Joe Taylor on Overland. God bless you, Joe, and have a great day. Watch out outside. It's kind of nasty.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
All right, buddy. Thank you very, very much. Nice man right there, Joe Taylor. I want you to call in on this because we saw transparently really what the conversations are like behind the scenes. And for Pelosi and Schumer to kind of hold their hands up and say, "Oh wait, we've got to do this behind closed doors. Why we can't be arguing and having these conversations out in front of the public and on camera? Why?" Answer that one question. Why can't they have it visible and audible for all of us? It's our money they're talking about. It's our country they're talking about. It's us, we the people, that need to know they're talking about. And for Nancy Pelosi and Chucky Schumer to sit there and get all upset, saying, "Well, we got to do this behind closed doors. We can't. Why, we have to keep this halfway under the table." Baloney. We should all, and I am after this program, for what it's worth, it's going to give me my own self-satisfaction of calling back there and or emailing back there and letting them know what a bunch of sleazes they are for not wanting to let it be known to us, the public, what's going on. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The Democrats do not want a wall. The Democrats do not want border security. And we have some of the same characters of the Democratic Party that live right here in Magic Valley. They're more concerned about their politics and themselves than they are for the security of you and I in America. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Please start the ball rolling. Give me a call. Well, I have a moment. I want to give Merry Christmas wishes out to Searles in Oakley. Wow, they're located at 120 North Center Street in Oakley. The best of gas, grub, and goodies. And they throw open the doors at 6 in the morning till 9 at night. And they've got the best doggone delicious specialty buns that are baked fresh every day. Oh, my, that's good. Searles in Oakley wishing you a very Merry Christmas. Kelly's Bearings at 1407 East Main in Burley. And don't forget, Kelly's Bearing Supply keeps everything right there on hand. Bearings, chains, brackets, everything. Zach and Brett and the whole crew over there at Kelly's Bearings, they say Merry Christmas to you. And last but not least, Dixon Oil at 602 South 2nd and Rupert with, of course, Daryl and the whole crew. They've been in business since 1951. Seen a lot of Christmases and given a lot of Christmas wishes. Gas, oil, and propane. Dixon Oil and Rupert wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Also want to remind you, too, Merry Christmas wishes from Stotz Equipment, your John Deere dealer at 119 Overland in Burley. Nice, nice people. Vic and the whole crew. I mean, if I were to list the names, I might forget somebody. They're all very nice people. Wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas at Stotz Equipment Company, your John Deere dealer, 119 Overland in Burley. You know, kudos, and I mean this, I'm not going to hide my feelings on this issue whatsoever. Kudos to Donald Trump. He did not take any garbage or abuse from either Pelosi or Schumer. I thought it was direct. I saw a man sitting there talking to Schumer and Pelosi that was not going to be run over. I saw a man sitting there on television yesterday that I voted for because I didn't want one of the quote-unquote politicians. I wanted to see change. I wanted to see a man that wasn't afraid to get into the deep water and see how he could swim. And I saw that yesterday. It was good that it was on TV. And it was good that we, the people, saw exactly what the problem is. The Democrats in this country, I don't care who's offended. The Democrats don't care about the Constitution, the laws, and respect for you and I. They just want a helter-skelter, open borders, come on in, live off the American dime, and maybe you can also become enough of a quote-unquote American citizen so we can get your vote. This is a crime, what's going on. We need a wall. We need to know who's coming in. We need to know why they're coming in. We need to know what they're bringing in. And I'm going to back Trump 100%. This might raise some hackles and make people upset. I'm going to support him 100% for a government shutdown. Shut it down. Get their attention, pull the short end of the necktie tight, and then let them squirm. What are your thoughts? please give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, don't forget Nick Greenwell and all of his physical therapists, the best people at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. They're at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And if you're recouping from an injury or a surgery or whatever, please get a hold of them today. They can help you get back to being you. All the exercises, of course, the hydrotherapy pool, everything at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. The number to call, 678-1191. Please take care of that call today. The best helping you, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Wow, I'm surprised we haven't had anybody call in on this yet this morning. Please give me a jingle. All the representatives in the House and the senators need to have our scrutiny like what we saw yesterday on TV. All these people need to have questions as to what their thoughts are, what their beliefs are, and are they going to work for us, or are they going to work for themselves and other lobbying groups back on the Potomac? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Thanks a lot for taking the call. This is a simple matter of mathematics in my mind. We're the taxpayers in this country are paying out, and by the way, they ought to substitute the word government with the word taxpayers, or two words, however you want. But simple mathematics, we're spending over $170 billion with a B, and I've heard that it's as high as $300 billion with a B for these illegal parasites to come into this country and get on the welfare program, welfare rolls, and Schumer and Pelosi are laughing about spending $5 billion for a wall. I think this is ridiculous. I would encourage everybody listening to your program to get on that damn telephone and call the Democrats today, tomorrow, however long it takes, and tell them what a disgrace this is to the United States of America. And with that note, I'll hang up.
No, wait a minute. Before you hang up, I want to give you a real plus, because you are very eloquent at how you stated that. I couldn't agree more, and you laid it out on the table. God bless you, and Merry Christmas to you.
Thank you, and Merry Christmas to you.
You're welcome. That man said it all. I mean, all of us. I revert back to a story. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't hang up. I revert back to a story on this program that happened about 5-6 months ago. You heard it if you listen every day. A guy called me on the air, and I was asking for everybody to do this and get involved in everything. He said, well, Zeb, why don't you do this? Why don't you call so-and-so? Why don't you go ahead and check that out? And I said to him, and I lost my temper, and I don't apologize for losing my temper. Why is it just me? All of us en masse ought to call, write emails, let Crapo and Risch and Simpson know how disgusted we are with what's going on, and call back to the Potomac and leave it on their White House phones, etc. All of us. They need to know the people are sick and tired of their ridiculous attitude in not working for us. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell. You know, I watched that interview, or that that debacle between Schumer and Pelosi and President Trump. And you know what? To me, the only one who was throwing a temper tantrum was old Schumer. He has no respect for anybody or anything. He acted like a damn 2-year-old.
But yet, Donna, the paper and other media outlets, ABC, CBS, NBC, CNN, everybody blames Donald Trump for what they call, he threw a temper tantrum. No, Chucky Schumer sat there and absolutely was brazenly stupid in the way he presented his case, if he did. Pelosi came out later, and listen to this. She said after the meeting, this is a manhood thing for him. She just absolutely scraped the bottom of the barrel. Here's what she said, and I've got a quote, and I want you to respond to it. It's like a manhood thing for him, as if manhood could ever be associated with him, this wall thing. See, that's what they think. Security, border security, and trying to protect our American sovereignty is just kind of a wall thing. I am disgusted and sick of the Democrats in this country because they're nothing but cowards.
I totally agree with you. You know, they think they had a good meeting. They didn't accomplish anything. And, you know, all they did on that program was show their hate for Trump.
They did. And I agree.
I think it's going to turn around and bite them in the you-know-where, because people are sick and tired. I mean, he's trying. And I really believe if we don't stand up and say, hey, enough is enough, he's going to lose the presidency in 2020.
Okay, simple question for you. Do you want border security, or do you want anybody and everybody to come on in and live off your money?
Now, I want border security. I always have.
There you go.
I don't want these people coming in here. If they want to come in legally, I have no qualms whatsoever about welcoming them into the United States. But if they're going to bust down walls and injure people and use women and children to get across the border illegally, no, I think they ought to be taken out at the crossing.
Do you want to hear something that is going to make you sit down at the table and get so mad you'll probably break the handle on your coffee cup? Can I tell you something that's going to really infuriate you?
Sure, go ahead.
All right, listen to this. The caravanners coming up from Honduras yesterday issued an ultimatum to us, the United States. Either we let them in, or they are demanding, hold on to your coffee cup, they're demanding that we pay each of them $50,000 to go home.
It's a laughable thing, Zeb. It does irritate me. I saw that this morning. Who are they to think they have a right to tell us what we're going to do and how we're going to do it?
I mean, when I read this,
to stand up in their own dadgum country and make it a free country for them over there and leave us the heck alone.
When I read this and they gave us a 72-hour time limit to respond, my response is, don't let the doorknob on the door hit you in the you-know-where on the way out going home. Get out of here.
My sentiments exactly, Zeb, but I'm not laughing at it. It's a very serious thing, but it's a laughable demand. I mean, who in their right? Well, other than the Democrats, because they need the votes. Other than the Democrats, I don't know a citizen of this U.S. that would allow them to make that kind of demand.
This is a outer space experience, let me tell you, and all of these people are nuts. Thank you so much, and Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas, Zeb. Talk to you later.
All right. Caller number 2, I'm going to be right there. Don't you dare go away. I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody about Ark Animal Hospital. I have said it before, and I'm going to say it again. In this colder weather, your animals need more water that is not frozen over. It's warm, drinkable, and they need the water. Believe me, these days, more so than even sometimes in the summer. So Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union, they urge you to make sure sure that all the water for your pets and your livestock outside, heated buckets, heated stock tanks, whatever, make sure they've got plenty of water. Ark Animal Hospital, Dr. Bill, Dr. Jordan, the whole crew serving you and your pets and livestock. And remember, the number to call, 678-1177. They have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, I'm about fed up with all this giveaway crap. We support half the world, or actually more than half the world, about 80% of it, with donations from our tax money. I say we need to cut it off 100%.
I agree.
And this idea of giving hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars to people to kill our soldiers is a bunch of baloney, too, that went on under Obama.
Yeah.
It was just absolutely stupidity. And that money should be paid back to the people of this country and stop forever anybody that would do anything like that.
Couldn't agree more.
They need to be in prison, they need to be locked up, and they need to be done away with.
Jerry, when you have, and give me a short answer on this, I've got other calls waiting, but when you have somebody that stands up as a spokesperson for the Hondurans, I got a cell phone that's going off. Hang on, I don't know why in the world I'm getting that call now. But you have people that are trying to demand to us to pay them $50,000 each to go home. Please, without using curse words, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are they are absolutely insane.
That kind of sums it up.
No way I would even give them 1 cent, let alone any money beyond that.
Well, I want to say how much I appreciate your call, and, of course, always. You've been a great friend of this program. Jerry, Merry Christmas to you. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Yes, Merry Christmas to you, and may the Lord bless you and all them young people out there listening. And I know they're all young, because nobody old would dare listen to a program as wise as yours.
Thank you. All right, caller number 2, I'll be right there. Wheels, I think there's another call waiting. Is there not? I thought I heard the cow.
No, you can proceed if you're going to do
I got to do a commercial real quick, and then we'll be right back with more calls. I want to hear, how do you like this, people? I mean, here are the caravanners marching up from Honduras, El Salvador, Guatemala, etc., to infiltrate and invade our country. And they're not coming in. They're not going to come in. But yet they issue an ultimatum, and they say, you either let us into this United States of America, or you pay us $50,000 apiece to go home. What? Caller, I'll be right there. Don't forget Sophie's Chatterbox, the very best of a restaurant and bakery right there at 530 East Street in Rupert. Oh, my. Delicious cookies and pies and different desserts, wedding cakes. Oh, it's great. And the restaurant, par excellence. You're going to love it. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hi. My comment is directed towards the people who come here legally. I think they're getting a raw deal because they go through all the hoops, pay all the money, do whatever it takes to come here legally. And then sometimes they don't get to stay for whatever reason. We have some friends that are from Nepal that just lost his job yesterday because they didn't renew his visa or whatever it is he needs to stay here. Mm-hmm. And they're having a baby next week, and I just think, why is it the people that do the things... I'm sorry, I'm going to cry.
No, I understand, ma'am. And believe me, your feelings are my feelings. They went through the proper channels to be here in this United States, and it seems like they're subjected to a throw-out program instead of a welcome, let's solve the problem, let's try to keep you here, whereas the Democrats want open borders so that the illegal aliens can flood the scene and overshadow good people like what you're talking about.
I think you're right, and I think it's just wrong. It just irritates me and makes me so sick to think think about how they're being treated. And
well, let me ask you this quickly, and again, I understand your emotion on this because I'd feel the same way. Is there anything that can be done or is being done, or are there calls to whether it might be Crapo, Risch, or whomever that might lend assistance or some guidance or whatever on this issue?
I'm not really sure. My husband came home from work yesterday and told me, and so I'm not really sure. I know the young man was thinking about maybe just going back to school because maybe he could stay that way.
Yeah.
But we're going to have to check into it because it's just I don't know, it's just wrong.
Well, let me tell you this, and I mean this. If there's anything I can do after the program's over, if you would like to call me, and I'll offer my assistance getting this story to Mike Crapo, Jim Risch, anybody that might be able to offer assistance, let me know, and I'll do all I can.
All right, I will check into it.
Thank you very, very much, and Merry Christmas to you. Thank you.
Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Caller, I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody, Merry Christmas wishes go out from Representative Fred Wood, District 27, Seat B, a very, very hardworking representative for you, I, and the entirety of the state of Idaho. Representative Fred Wood and his family wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. The Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce at 1177 7th Street in Hayburn with Sarah Seymour. I'm going to have Sarah on the air with us tomorrow over at Denny's, and I know she's going to bring one of those Sarah's Groaners. It's going to be a lot of fun. Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Mountain Transmissions at 1146 East Main in Burley. Absolutely the great, great folks over there with free towing, free diagnostic, and free estimates. They are your transmission experts. Mountain Transmissions, 678-9110. And our dear friend, Senator Kelly Anthon, District 27 Senator. There's a guy that really jumps in and takes everything and finds out the answers. Senator Kelly Anthon and his family wish you and yours a Merry Christmas. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you.
Good morning, Zeb, and a Merry Christmas to you. Your last caller, I'm total for immigration that direction, and it is unfortunate that happens to people, and it happens too often that they go through the right channels and do the right thing to get here, and they're not rewarded in any way, shape, or manner. Their reward is being your visa's expired and kicked out. But now, the frustrating part for me and the most irritating part is somebody comes here illegal, and they are here illegally. They jump the border and all that. They're getting welfare and they're getting everything else. They don't even want to contribute. They just want to be here.
That's right.
But yet they're not sent back. That's not right at all.
Absolutely. And then, above all this, and I've got the newspaper stories and I've got the printouts from the Daily Caller in Washington, D.C., for them and their spokespeople to stand up on the border and say, you either let us in or you'd better pay us $50,000 per person to go back home. Boy, I'll tell you what, as an American citizen right there, they've got my fist clenched, and I'm saying don't give them one damn red cent. Just tell them goodbye. Don't let the door hit you on the way out.
Yeah. To hell with them. They walked up there, they can walk back. No, actually, they got a ride up there, but they can get a ride back. You know, people who brought them can take them home.
Riley, I appreciate your calls as always. You've got a lot of common sense. Thank you for your call, and Merry Christmas to you.
One more thing. You guys be safe out there on them roads.
All right, buddy.
They're anything but nice.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Drive carefully. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, how many times in your life have you ever had somebody say, you either do this or we're going to do this or we expect this? Kind of a blackmail, you know? You either do this, let us in, or give us $50,000 a person, or we're going to storm your borders and come in anyway. I've got a German temper. I'm not proud of that German temper, But this is the kind of thing, when they say things like this, that make me want to have our Border Patrol and military at the borders arm themselves with water cannons and literally just blow those people right away from the wall. I'm just infuriated to think that people from another country are going to come up to our borders and stick their finger in our chest and say, hey, get out of the way, let me in, or if you want to send me back home, give me $50,000. There are words I want to say so bad about those people, but I doubt the FCC would appreciate it. Caller, I'll be right there. Don't go away. Don't forget Dino's Septic Service. Septic tanks pumped, septic tanks and drain fields installed, backhoe services, water and sewer lines installed, liquid waste removal. I mean, they do the job that you and I do not want to do. No. And they do it well. They've expanded their business to better serve more people in this area. All you have to do is call 436-6526 or in Burley, 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service, Dino's Septic Service. With a big truck that says, smells cargo on the way, you call them today, Dino's Septic Service. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, years ago, Scientific American magazine, when the first infrared photography was in place from satellites and so forth, and you could draw a line at the Mexican and California border and along there. As far as if it shows up red, that means there's production, crops growing and so forth. And you could, on that infrared, see the border between California and Mexico. Mm-hmm. And so what's the difference? The climate was the same. I think they had access to water, but they lacked the incentive. We've been so blessed in this country, and because of our founding fathers, but there's this movement to destroy this country. And I just wish that Justice Robertson would get out the Constitution and said Article 4, Section 4. He should know it by heart.
Yeah.
And it says our elected officials that take an oath to uphold the Constitution are to protect us against invasion. I mean, we've been invaded for years. And now Trump is the only one that's really brought it to our attention. And now the estimates already, have gone from 11 million to 22, and it's just incredible.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Adrian, let me jump in. Adrian.
$1,000 a piece?
Yeah, let me jump in here for a second. This is an invasion. It's an illegal invasion into this country. Let's call it what it is. And for those that are threatening you and I, your neighbors, my neighbors, the rest of my family, etc., you either let us in, you American, or you better figure out a way to come up with $50,000 a person to pay us off and send us home. Get with it. You only got 72 hours. I don't know about you, Adrian, but I'm ready to put the gloves on and head down there because this is ridiculous. This is an invasion. They're acting like they're pugilists, wanting and demanding their way into this country, and I stand behind President Trump.
Well, absolutely. But when it boiled down to why is Trump hated so much? He wasn't part of the elite establishment. He wasn't part of the group that in both parties, particularly the Democrats, but many Republicans, are part of this elitists that want this one world government.
Yeah.
Well, it's in place. It's called the United Nations. We get the High Commissioner on Refugees is a communist, and so he's in charge of selecting the refugees that come right here to the Magic Valley. And, I had a discussion recently with a person. They think, these people are the Muslims are such nice people. But I said, well, they'll be nice because that's part of they can lie, deceit, and cheat and steal and so forth until they take over. But I said, when you read the Quran, if they're Quran following, they're committed, and we'll cut off our heads if we don't convert to them. And we need to realize this. These people will get enough population they have in certain areas. They're implementing Sharia law and all the things, bad things that go along that. There's no women's rights, et cetera, et cetera.
I gotta go. I gotta get a weather forecast on.
Watch our back.
I agree.
Not only the borders, but the people we already have here.
I agree with you and everything you said. I got a weather forecast to get on, but I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that, what you just said, in just a moment. Adrian, God bless, and Merry Christmas to you. I appreciate that.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you. What he said, I want to get into, too, in just a minute about what happened over in France at that Christmas marketplace. That was disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. We're going to talk about that in just a second. Weather forecast. Holy moly, I'm running late. Don't forget our weather brought to you this hour. Look outside. What you see is what you get. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, and they're located right behind the Minidoka Hospital across from the emergency room. And they've got 3 wonderful doctors, audiology doctors, Dr. Pickup, Dr. Hunsaker, Dr. Mitchell, all of them serving you with the best comprehensive treatment for hearing loss. And they'll present all the treatment options, and believe me, they know their business. Please call them today. Make an appointment, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
More snow is in the weather forecast, and we are in a winter weather advisory. Here's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch. Mostly cloudy skies for this morning. We are expecting accumulations of up to 2 inches, and it's going to be breezy, so that means we're going to have some blowing snow throughout the day. We are expecting a high of 35 and gusts as high as 35 miles an hour. For tonight, partly cloudy skies, still going to be breezy, so that means that blowing snow. Patchy freezing fog after midnight. Low expected right around 15, and winds out of the west up to 25 miles an hour. For tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, patchy freezing fog in the morning, expecting a high of 34, partly cloudy, and 22 for tomorrow night. By Friday, mostly sunny and 37. Looks like mostly cloudy for Friday night, low of 19. Then by Saturday, partly cloudy skies, highs expected in the mid-30s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much, Gina. Always a great job with the weather forecast, and it's brought to you again this hour by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Wonderful people serving you and your hearing health. The number to call to make an appointment, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. I forgot again. Wheels, do I have one waiting? I absolutely got engrossed in my weather forecast.
No, you're perfectly fine.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Or whatever you can.
Calls are welcome and appreciated. And I don't know, maybe you folks just want to sit back and open your billfolds, your checkbooks, your 401ks, your bank accounts, and say, here, take it. I don't need it for retirement. I'll just live on Social Security. I'll try to get by. Here, give my money to everybody. Give my money to everybody to come on in. We'll have one great big kumbaya party, roast some marshmallows, and just have a good time. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, I tell you what, Zeb, America might be the only place on Earth that is left that is relatively safe and sound. As we watch France burn down and Theresa May completely screw up in Britain, and you say to yourself, where would you like to live if it wasn't America? Would you like to live in South America? Not on your life. Would you like to move to Sweden? Not a chance. You're going to move to Switzerland? Well, that might be safe in New Zealand or Australia, but there's nothing left. We've got to save what we've got.
Amen.
There are 750 million people that want to come to America right now.
Yeah.
Can you imagine having that many people in our country?
Well,
plus the 330 30 million we got. Go ahead.
Logistically and environmentally and jobs and everything else, it just can't happen. I mean, it's stupid and ludicrous to even think about it. And these ne'er-do-wells that sit there and go, oh, America's such a great country, let them all in. Well, pretty soon you're going to have the same huge problems of disease, pestilence, environmental disasters, and everything else is what they fled. And that's what's coming to this country, and I'm against it entirely. And to be threatened by these people, these illegal aliens, and say, you either let us in or pay us $50,000. I don't know about you, Mr. Randy Golay, but I don't like being threatened.
I'll tell you what, it's so insane. I'm so furious that, you know, this insanity, just like yesterday with Schumer and Pelosi, and they're so, you know, full of you know what. And it's amazing. And again, the only thing left is the American people to save this country, because our politicians, the good ones, are getting beat to death.
Yeah.
And you don't see Crapo, Rich, Simpson standing up and defending President Trump when they've got absolutely no reason to worry about being reelected. They're gutless wonders.
Well, I'm beginning to...
I don't know.
I absolutely cannot take any difference with what you're saying, because I'm fed up to the gills with what's not happening. Randy, I got another call waiting, and I wish you a Merry Christmas. Thank you so much. Caller, I'm going to ask you to stay on the line just 30 seconds more. I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody about Barry Equipment and Rental. Absolutely the best of retail equipment sales, equipment rentals. They've got it all right there at 3 locations, actually. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley with Juan, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls with Eli, and the Nampa location. I mean, they've got them all. They've got all the Bobcats, and they're offering 0% interest up to 60 months on the Bobcats. Don't know how to run one? Don't worry about it. Stop in there. They got a big old sandbox. They'll take you out behind and teach you. Absolutely. Barry Equipment and Rental. Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. You stop in and see them today. Caller, thank you. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. I just picked up my newspaper, and I've got it here on the table. I watched that last night with Trump, and this thing says Trump bickers with the Democrats. He didn't. He just sat there calmly. You could see he wanted to say things, but that Nancy and that Pelosi and that Schumer, I wanted to get up and pull her hair and smack him aside the head.
What did it tell you?
And he was so calm and quiet, and this thing says he bickered with them. He didn't. He talked politely.
Well, and he did. He was politely.
I'm going to choke on my Cheerios.
Hey, listen, don't choke on your Cheerios. God bless you and Merry Christmas to you. Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you. Nice lady right there. She's right. Deanne drew my attention to the headline in the paper this morning before I had a chance to read it. And the illustrious Times News in Twin Falls. Yeah, right. Absolutely has taken a left turn at the intersection, and they, like many others, with their coverage and their relating the stories that either come from the Associated Press or whatever, very left-wing. I watched the conversation with Trump and Schumer and Pelosi. I watched Trump listening. I watched the little boy attitude of Chucky Schumer sitting there going, like a little spoiled child. And Nancy Pelosi, oh, we can't, why, we can't be sitting here talking about this. Why, the cameras, they're recording what we're saying and doing. Well, then Trump said, that's good, that's transparency. Donald Trump, had nothing to hide. Nothing to hide. But anybody that's got the brains of a paperclip could see that the Democrats, well, they didn't want to be out there on that TV. Ho, ho, ho. No. America would see and hear what they're really all about. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. This is your trucker buddy.
Yes, sir. Quickly, Jeff, go ahead. I only got a minute left.
Okay, well, I've driven all over this country. I've driven, everywhere, and I've seen, in some states in our own country here, I've seen this abject poverty like you wouldn't believe. I mean, these ramshackle shacks that people are living in, I mean, they it's not that they don't work. They don't want to work. They want a handout. And if all these people come to this country, you know, like you said, 750 million want to come to this country like that, it'll be the entire United States will be just like that. It'll be abject poverty everywhere. There'll be disease running rampant, and our government can't spend that much money to support them.
That's right.
We're already $21 trillion in debt. If this country hits $30 trillion, we're done.
Absolutely. You know, everything you said is true. Everything you said, I hope and pray that it doesn't come to fruition to the extent that I think it will, but I think you're right. I hate to cut you off, but I got to do a commercial break, and I wish you a very Merry Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you, and wish you a Merry Christmas too, Zeb.
All right, sir.
Happy New Year.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
I want to give a lot of kudos out to our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. I'll bet you with the snow this morning, a lot of people woke up and said, whoa, boy, here we go. We got to get into the Les Schwab Tire Center. Absolutely. They've got all the tires, all the different tread designs, all the sizes for your cars, pickups, SUVs, whatever you need tires for. Let me tell you something. They've got the tires that are going to get you through the snow, the ice, the muck, the snow, everything, and stop in and see them today. And the best in brake service with highly trained technicians, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries. Don't forget, don't put it off. Stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley. They are the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You know, I want you to really sit down today sometime, turn the TV off, sit in a quiet room, and just think. Think about people demanding that you and I, the taxpayers, give them kind of a blackmail or some kind of money to get them to leave and leave us alone. $50,000 per person. I don't like being threatened. And if they want to threaten us with, we're coming in and you can't stop us or else pay us $50,000, I in turn would say, Donald Trump, turn the military loose and let them do their job. We'll be back right after the news. Don't go away. Oh, good morning. Good morning on a blowing, blustery December the 12th. My goodness sakes, we're only 13 days away from Christmas, and Merry Christmas to you and yours. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Right now, we're going to have this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
They are always at your disposal, and I urge you to call if you need a dumpster to maybe clean the house before all the family gets there for Christmas and everything. My goodness sakes, they've got dumpsters in various sizes, and just call them. They'll drop it off. You fill it up, they'll come and get it. Absolutely easy. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. The number to call, 734-6969. Want to also remind you that on Thursdays, and we're hopefully going to get Stephanie over to Denny's tomorrow for their segment with the Cassia Regional Hospital. And she is just one of the many, many dedicated medical experts and staff over at Cassia Regional Hospital. Your friends, your neighbors at Cassia Regional Hospital, quality care close to home. And we always have that segment on Thursdays at 9:17. Thank you, Cassia Regional Hospital. One more good word before we go to our dear friend Dave Bigo. I want to remind everybody, this is a great idea. Great idea. If you're a senior citizen and you want to stay at home, pardon me, I'm sucking on a cough drop, and you want to stay at home, well, Mini-Cash Hearts for Seniors at 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley, they can help you. Yeah, with daily tasks, or maybe a little meal preparation, or light housekeeping, or helping you get errands taken care of. All of this and more. Mini-Cash Hearts for Seniors, 135 East 23rd Drive in Burley. The number to call to find out more, 312-5715. That number again, 312-5715. Right now on the telephone line is a dear friend of mine that is a pretty straight shooter. I mean, he tells it like it is, and I have a lot of respect for him. Author, businessman. Good morning, Dave Bego. How are you?
Hi, good morning, Zeb. I'm doing fine, and we're actually getting a little warm out here in the Midwest. We're going to be up in the low 50s by the weekend.
So. Oh, my goodness.
Just thought I'd let you know, because I know you're getting snow and cold weather out there.
Well, I really appreciate the cheery, warm thoughts that you expressed to me this morning. Dave, I'm going to start the show off this morning, our segment off, by I don't like being threatened. I don't like anybody saying, Zeb, you either do this or we're going to do that. And that's exactly what's taking place on our border right now, where the caravanners have made a threat against you and me and all Americans. You either let us in or else you pay us $50,000 to go home. I don't like extortion. I don't like threats. I don't like being told that I have to pay money to somebody I don't owe any money to. What are your thoughts on this?
Well, yeah, it's just part of the agenda that they're being pushed on behind the scenes by, some of the communist countries that supported them coming up, and the far left here in the United States, and we just need to brush them off, ignore them, and tell them to go home.
Well, yeah, don't let the doorknob hitch in the posterior as you pass on through. But the whole thing boils down to this is the left. This is what's going. This is indicative of what that meeting was like at the White House yesterday with Schumer and Pelosi. The left and the Democrats, and I'm not going to back up for anybody, they do not want borders. They want y'all come on in, we'll all pay for you. This is the attitude that is absolutely being put forth, and Trump, God bless him, yesterday on television told him no. He's going to shut the government down if they keep promoting this. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, you have to. You have to stand up to these people, because the truth is, and there was an article on Restoring Liberty, and they hit the nail right on the head. It says, is Team Trump ready for Pelosi's death by 1,000 cuts? And I don't know if you remember or not, but in my book, I talk about the SEIU and the term that they use when they go after employers, like they went after me and my company and everything, and our employees. They say our program is death by 1,000 cuts. We're going to come after you and cut you till you die. And it's the same agenda, the same tactics, Seb. And I've spoken about this before. And Trump needs to stand up to it, and the Republican Party needs to stand up to it and expose these people for what they really are. And on Fox News last night, one of the gals on there exposed Pelosi for lying during that meeting with Trump yesterday. And saying that this shouldn't be out, and we shouldn't be talking about this. But then later she talked about, well, I'd be totally open and honest about this all the time.
Yeah.
So they say one thing and do another, and this is typical.
Well, it's typical, but it's got to stop. I mean, I believe honestly, and maybe I'm not as optimistic as you are, but when you have countries sending and letting people up to our border with a pugnacious finger in our chest, demanding that they come in, and then demanding that we take care of them financially, and then demanding that if we don't let them in, to pay them $50,000 to get back home, the left has created this problem, and I honestly don't see anybody on the left, whether it's Schumer, whether it's Pelosi, whether it's the wussy Adam Schiff, or whomever it might be. Nobody on the left is standing up for us.
Well, that's right, and the truth is, it's not just the Democratic Party. In fact, it's a party that... and I got to tell you this because I found it interesting today. It's a party that's totally separated itself from the Democratic Party, but they use the Democratic Party as an umbrella. And it's called the Progressive Party, and you won't believe this, but this morning I got an email from them asking to join their Progressive Party, and I'm going, really? And I opened their website, and, you know, they had big pictures of Bernie Sanders on it and what their, you know, program for this country is, social justice and, you know, this for everybody, Medicare for everybody, this for everybody. And this is the typical thing that I went through with the SEIU, same type of agenda and comments and all. And this Progressive Party says that they're growing and they're going to outgrow both the Republican and Democratic Party and run this country.
I know what you mean, because I was just taken aback a moment ago because I got the same email that you did, exactly the same. But you know what? Trump said yesterday...
It's out of Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Trump said something yesterday that made my appreciation for him go skyrocketing, and I hope America picks up on it. When Schumer and him were bantering back and forth about the money in the wall, Trump said, okay, Chuck, I'll take it, lay it on me. But I'm going to shut the government down until we get that wall for the American consumer and taxpayer security. And I respect him for that. Why can't the rest of America understand what he's trying to do? We do not need a great big void on our borders to let anybody and everybody in here at our expense.
Well, that's exactly right. And, you know, we need to protect our country, and you know, look at this. China put a wall up hundreds of years ago to protect their country and keep people out.
Yep.
And you don't hear anybody complaining about China, do you?
Well, look at what happened over in Israel. Their wall has been very effective against Hamas and the Palestinians. Why in the world can't we, the United States, have the same protection for our citizens? We don't know who these people are. We don't know what their intent is. We don't know what they're bringing in. We don't know what kind of dangers they possess. We don't know what kind of diseases they're bringing into this country. I'm telling you, Dave, I may sound like I'm being really a redneck radical, but I say close the borders down.
Well, absolutely. And, yeah, you know, you have to look at it. You have to understand, and this goes back to a very, very simple thing. They want these people to come in. This is all about politics in the election process. So they can use these people to get into the polls. And you've read stories all over the country and states all over the country how the election system was rigged, or, you know, there was criminal things going on to get Democrats elected. And that's what this is all about, because they use these people to vote, and they take them to the polls and tell them who to vote for. And that's what this is all about, so that they can take over this country and bring it down.
Yeah, and I'll tell you something else, and you may not agree with this, but I think it would be great. And when I say the word great, I mean it. Trump said yesterday, if I don't get the money for the wall, I will shut this government down. You know what? Yep. I've done some research on this, David, and it's not going to be as devastating, and it's not going to be the sky is falling chicken little as people think it is. I admire Trump for saying, look, you have told me, Democrats, for a long, long time. First, it started with a conversation of over $26 billion with a B, and it's dwindled down now to where you want to hedge and make it only 1.3, and you'd better back up your word or I'll shut it down. And I agree with him.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, that's what you have to do. And you have to take these people to task, and, you know, you have to, like he did in the television program, you have to expose them for what they really are.
What are your thoughts as a businessman, entrepreneur, etc.? You've studied this, talked about it. What about a government shutdown? Really, I think if it's going to be push or pull, hey, let Pelosi and Schumer know this has got to stop.
Oh, yeah, well, they do. And, you know, it's you hate to see it happen, but, you know, the other thing is truthfully, not only do we need the government to shut down a little bit, but we actually need to reduce, you know, our debt, because, you know, we're getting close to a huge debt figure that we'll never be able to pay back. And we got to start reducing cost across the board and stuff like that. But we need to have money in there to build that wall.
Okay, but if Trump is asking, excuse me for choking, if Trump is asking for the $5 billion for our border security, not just yours, not just mine, but ours, the United States. And the original conversation, if you'll think back, well, they were talking about $26 billion with a B, and it's been haggled and cheapened by the Democrats down to now they want to only give 1.3. There's got to be some power. There has to be some recognition that this is the president. He's in control with his party. The Senate is controlled by the Republicans. And you Democrats, yes, you're going to be taking over the House. But no, we are not going to back up any further. Give me the $5 billion or we shut it down.
Yeah. And that's where he needs to go. But then we need to go after this next couple of years, and we really got to reduce the national debt because it's terrible where it's at right now.
I agree.
And we can't continue to go on that thing. And a lot of it is because, and the Democrats want to contribute to it some more. They want everybody on Medicare or Medicaid and all that. And, what we need is people to go out to work and, work hard, get their jobs, get their benefits through their companies and do stuff like that. Not the government to be the social government that they want it to be.
I agree. I was listening to the jobs report, and I'm sure that you probably followed up on this yesterday. There are now, according to statistics, 7.1 million jobs. Let me say that again. 7.1 million jobs available in the United States. There is opportunity galore. Young people going to school can basically pick and choose their studies for fields of endeavor to go out and do the best they can with the talent God gave them. There's a chance for excellence in this country one more time. But it's easier for the left to sit back there on their hind pockets and say, nope, not going to go anywhere, just going to be like a sponge, and I'm going to get everything handed to me like a gorilla in a zoo.
Yep, that's right. And here's the other thing that's going on behind the scenes with Medicaid and SNAP and other things. The government, especially during the Obama administration, relaxed the rules of people being investigated and going through the process to determine if they really, truly would, could be approved for it. And what it did is the government, both states and national, don't have to do as much background investigation on people, and really if what they're saying money-wise they're making is true and other things they're getting, everything's true. And because of that, you got a lot of people that have gone back to work that are still on Medicaid and other welfare programs because the government system is not checking them out, and people are going in and lying about how much they're making in that, and so they meet the minimums, and they get these all these welfare programs, and it's means tested is what it's called, and it's not working.
Well, Dave, you and I have talked about this in the past, but you know as well as I do that there is a need, underline that word, for welfare in this country and, for that matter, other countries too. Because you have people that have maybe had some devastating physical injuries or health problems. Maybe there's been something happening to the breadwinner in the family, and I absolutely will be the first in line to help those people for the time necessary. But we also have a large percentage of the people on welfare that are nothing worse than blood-sucking leeches that are taking the program at your and my expense. And this has got to be cleaned up.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's why I brought this up, because it's crazy how many people out there that are doing this, especially when we have a growing economy and wages have gone up just tremendously without the minimum wage laws that the left and the unions want put into place. It's all because of our free market capitalistic society is doing great things, and that's what we really need to do, is allow our system to work and make these people go out and participate in it.
Dave, I've said this on the radio. Maybe you disagree. Maybe the time frames aren't exactly right. But I honestly think it would save every city, every county of every state money if there was a reevaluation of the people that are on welfare recipient programs, and if they're found to be able and fit to go to work but won't go to work, I think maybe 60 days maximum. 60 days maximum and case closed. You either go to work or you're going to starve to death.
Yeah, you got to do something. And this article I was reading this morning, a report came from Louisiana's legislative auditor who went out and selected 100 Medicaid recipients at random and found that 82 of them shouldn't have qualified for all the benefits they received. Most were underreporting income, taking advantage of enrollment rules.
Oh, my.
And, on and on and on. It's... And this is what's going on in this country, and our government needs to wake up both at the local, state, and federal level.
And there's got to be some way, and I've had many people on my program that are involved in education, but you know as well as I do, Dave, we've got to do something to restore a work ethic and a want to do the best you can with the talent God gave you in this country. I think a lot of these kids are leaving school, whether it's New York, Chicago, Tallahassee, Florida, Sacramento, L.A., whatever. They're leaving school thinking that the government owes them a living.
Yeah, and again, that's part of the far left trying to bring us down from within by getting in and brainwashing these kids.
Well, I'll tell you what, I just really am upset about this situation to where there's such a denigrating of President Trump. The left doesn't want any success from this man whatsoever or his administration. I have never in all my years, and I'm an old man, kind of like you, I've never in all my years seen any group of people that absolutely will hate one man at the expense of the country.
No, I'm not surprised at all because, we finally have a businessman in office that understands that, our system of capitalism, free market works, and that's what he's doing to move our country forward, and that's what we needed and continue to need, and they're totally against it. They're all about social justice, socialism, and communism, and that's what they want, and they're going to continue to push this, and it's over the next 2 years before the 2020 election, and with the House being Democratic now, we're going to see the death by 1,000 cuts continue.
Yeah. One final thought, and I got to ask you your response to this. Maybe you heard about this story, but you know who Beto O'Rourke is. He was the so-called Texan, not really, that ran against Ted Cruz for the senatorial race down in Texas, and he lost, even though he had a lot of big-time millions coming in from Hollywood, etc. For some reason, they think he is now the new Kennedy darling. Well, anyway, did you hear the story about how he wants to get a warm response, a handshake, and an advocacy of Al Sharpton so he can run for president? Oh, my goodness. Tell me your thoughts.
Good luck.
That's all you have to say?
Good luck to him. He's going in the wrong direction, and let him continue to go in that direction.
I couldn't agree more. Any final thoughts before I let you go? You got your Christmas shopping done? Surely my gifts in the mail, Christmas tree up, everything else?
We got all the Christmas stuff up. Still doing shopping though. We got a lot of family, so it's we're getting close though.
What do I have to do? Change my last name to Bigo?
There you go.
My friend, God bless you. Enjoy your warm weather. I'll go out and make a snowman in your honor, and we'll look forward to having you back on the air with us next Wednesday.
Okay, sounds good.
Take care.
Stay warm out there.
I will, Dave. Dave Bigo, great guy, great friend, Indianapolis, Indiana. And his books, of course, The Devil at Our Doorstep, The Devil at My Doorstep. He's a great author. He knows what's going on. Thank you very much. Okay, now, I also know what's going on, and I got to take care of some bills here real quick, and then in just a few minutes we'll go to our next guest. I want to remind you about Hanson Mortuary with Joel Heward and his staff at 710 6th Street in Rupert. These are really very, very nice people serving you and your family in a time of need when there's the passing of a loved one. They care and always treat you with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Joel Heward, his family and staff. The number to call, 436-5636. I'll repeat it again, 436-5636. They do wish you a very Merry Christmas, and they are there to help you in a time of need. And don't forget, Joel Heward also serving you at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. All righty, wind is a-blowing outside. My goodness, doesn't look like the clouds are going to stay here, though. It's starting to break up a little bit. I see some blue sky outside the window. I want to remind you, too, about Santa's favorite place to shop. What am I talking about? I'm talking about Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. Holy moly, biggest savings, the best values on everything for your home, the beautification of your home, and the comfortization. I don't know if that's a word, but it is now, of your home. No money down, no interest, up to 48 months on approved credit. Wow. We are looking at, right now, what is this? We've got exactly, 13 days left to shop? Whoo, you better get in there. All the great buys on the dining room sets. You're going to have Aunt Martha, Uncle Fred, everybody over for Christmas dinner. All the great buys on the sofas so Aunt Martha and Uncle Fred can go to sleep after the Christmas dinner. All of this and more at people that really know all about the interior of your home. And that's Jeff and the crew at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Really good folks. All right, we're going to have Mr. Tom Harris on the program in just a few moments. I enjoy this man. He's so straightforward and honest about, honestly, the absolute ridiculousness of climate change and global warming. We're going to have him on the air momentarily. Don't forget to Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Oh, boy, they've got all the snowmobiles over there. And the way the morning started off, I thought, bring one over. Old Zeb can't get out to feed the cattle. Anyway, don't forget Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. They're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. They've got all the snowmobiles. And don't forget, too, they've got all the snowplows for your four-wheelers. Yep, your ATVs, got one. And I'll guarantee I'm going to be on it right after this program. So be sure and get over there today at Let's Ride. As I said, they've got all the best of accessories and a service department that'll keep you running at Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, and it's true. This is where the fun is sold. Absolutely. And when you're over in that area, don't forget, to our friends at Cameron and Siemens Insurance. Tried to get a hold of Todd the other day, as a matter of fact. Life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and so much more. All you need to do is kind of pick up the ball, and in this case, the telephone, and call them at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424, and ask for their help. They will. Absolutely, they're dedicated and devoted to serving you. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert, and they wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas. The next gentleman on my program, waiting at stage left to come on in, is the executive director of the International Climate Science Coalition. And he's been on my program many, many times in the past, and I can't wait to get him on to talk about various things here this morning. Good morning, Tom Harris. How are you?
Oh, I'm great. How are you, Zeb?
I'm pretty good, Tom, but I tell you what, I'm not going to lie to you or try to cover it up. I'm getting a little bit more than nervous about the left and their clandestine ways of trying to force, coerce, and cram down my throat this idea of climate change and possibly carbon cards and everything else. What's going on here? Can we stop this movement or not?
Yes, I think we can, and we have to keep doing things like you're doing and having people like me and Tim Ball, and I understand you have Jay Lear next week, I believe.
Yes, that's right.
He's with the Heartland Institute, having us on radio, because as more and more people come to understand But the climate scare is based only on one thing, and that is the computer models' forecasts of the future. And indeed, the computer models don't work at all right now. And when people realize that they don't even come close to forecasting what has already happened, if we go back a few years, plug in the variables and see, what it would generate, it says that today should be much hotter than it is. So to use those models for multi-billion-dollar policy decisions is really ridiculous.
Tom, I hope you don't mind if I call you Tom, but where in the world, Tom, after all my study, all my research for years on this program, first of all with the global warming, with Al Gore tearing his hair out or setting it on fire, and up till today, where is there really, honestly, some climate change? Is it in Utah? Is it down in Indiana? Where is it?
Yeah, well, actually, climate changes all the time. I mean, that's part of nature. If it didn't change, we'd still be sitting under 2 kilometers of ice right now where I am, because that's what it was like 15,000 years ago. So, I mean, the natural state is climate change. That's what we always see, and we have seen a little bit of warming since the 1880s. NASA GISS, who's the Goddard Institute for Space Studies, they say that we've had just over a degree of warming since 1880. And yet, during that period, CO2 levels have apparently gone up 40%. So it doesn't sound like the climate's very sensitive to CO2, if it is at all. And since the year 2000, it's pretty well stabilized, even though CO2 continues to rise because of the industrialization of China, especially. China, by the way, now puts out twice as much greenhouse gas emissions as the United States. And yet they're not held to any limits at all right now. Until 2030, they can just grow as fast as they want. And even after 2030, it's unlikely they're going to actually restrict anything. So even if it were true that we were causing climate change with our CO2, the amount so far has been tiny, and the rest is based on computer models that don't work. So it's really a false alarm.
Well, Tom, when you read stories about New York Times opinion writer Paul Krugman, I mean, this guy is standing in front of the New York Times, and he's telling everybody that America is now part of the new axis of evil because we don't believe in climate change and we're all going to die. How do you fight that?
Yeah, it's pretty silly stuff. And, to some extent, as they call wolf more and louder, you start to realize, they become hysterical, because if you actually question them, ask them simply a question. How much has it warmed since 1880? They say, it must be 4 or 5 degrees. You say, nope, it's about 1 degree. And when was what extreme weather record was set anywhere in the United States at a statewide level this year? And they'll say, there must be dozens. And you say, nope, there was one. The biggest hailstone in Alabama's history, 5 inches in diameter. Okay? And so, I mean, nothing is really going on right now. The bottom line is sea level continues to rise at its normal rate. We're seeing Arctic ice ebb and flow mainly because of the ocean currents. It's getting colder, and, the Arctic is growing in the Antarctic. And so, I mean, the bottom line is that, there isn't anything really going on right now other than natural climate variability. And, of course, we have a lot more people with cell phones picking up tornadoes and things in areas where we'd never have known about it before. So, and, by the way, Zeb, here's a big factor. People talk about the increasing cost of insurance claims due to extreme weather. But what they don't realize is that averaged over the world, there's been a 13-fold infrastructure increase in the last century. So while a century ago there might have been one hotel on a certain span of the coast in Florida, there's now 13. So, of course, the claims are going to be higher when they have natural disasters.
Tom, even here locally, we have a combined group of uneducated people that write the op-ed sheet for our Times News, and they are also part of the global warming. Oh, it's going to happen. We're all going to burn up. We all better make a security building up on top of the Albion Mountain because we're all going to drown. We're going to be fishing for whales here pretty quick. This is ridiculous. Why won't they...
inches per century. I don't know. Where's your closest sea to your location?
The closest ocean?
Yeah.
800 miles west of us in the Pacific.
Well, if the ocean's only rising at about 7 inches per century, maybe 8 inches. So if it continued forever, I suppose eventually, millions of years from now, you might be in trouble. But the interesting thing is that we go through cycles. and we're due for the next glacial period. And at that time, it could happen in the next 1,000 years. Nobody really knows. It's a 100,000-year cycle where you have about 90,000 years of very cold weather, where you have the glaciers come down from the north and cover all of Canada pretty well, and a lot of the northern United States, and then they retreat for about 10,000 years typically. Now, we're near the end of that 10,000-year period, so we could see the glaciers start to retreat fairly soon. We don't know when. I mean, the cycles are very approximate. But if there's any threat, it's more due to global cooling, because a little bit of warming is actually a good thing for the Earth. And in particular, rising CO2 is wonderful. Okay, the environmentalists get all excited because CO2 has risen 40% since 1880. But that's nothing. I mean, the plants on the Earth now evolved at a time, largely speaking, when the CO2 was triple what it is now. Okay, so that's good for plants. It's certainly not bad for us, because triple today's levels are just over 400. Triple would be 1,200 parts per million. We get that level in a conference room when we have a meeting. So it's no danger to us, and certainly the plants will love it.
I got to ask you this, Tom, and I'm going to show some naivete here because I just don't know. But when they start, they being the left that are hanging on a tree branch with their fingers saying, we're all going to die here in a few minutes, when they start saying, well, in days of old and everything else, it piqued my interest, because how good were the measuring equipment and scales and thermometers and everything else back in the old days? How can they really say with absolutism that it's gone here and it's gone there? I mean, how absolutely verified were some of the old recordings?
Well, yeah, that's really a very good question, especially when they express the change in temperature to hundredths of a degree.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it's ridiculous. If you go back to the 1930s, people were using mercury thermometers. And you can't measure that to better than at most a half a degree, probably a full degree. So indeed, the early measurements had huge error bars on them. And so these little fluctuations that we see up and down every year, you know, they say, oh, it's the hottest year on record. You know, I think 2016 or something they said was the hottest year previously. And it set the record by something like 7/100ths of a degree. But the uncertainty, even in the current measurements, when you add it up and you do the arithmetic, is actually greater than that. So it's a little, you know, in many cases, the records are being set by less than the error bar, by less than the uncertainty. So what you always have to ask is when they say, oh, it broke the record by such and such, you have to say yes, and what's your uncertainty? I mean, it's kind of like getting excited during an election if one candidate has a 2% lead, but the margin of error is 5%. It doesn't mean anything. And that's what people have to ask. Whenever they talk about, you know, early this year, this coming year, we're going to hear announcements probably that this year set some sort of record, whether it'll be, you know, rising extreme weather or rising temperature. You have to ask, well, what's the uncertainty? What's happened in the past? You know, how sure are you of this? Did we actually survey those regions that you're saying are now experiencing extreme weather? Did we actually survey them in the 1930s? Was there anybody there? So would you even know if there had been extreme rainfall in some part of Kansas?
Yeah.
So you're right. The data is extremely incomplete. And in fact, the surface data is so bad. Dr. Ball, who's our chief science advisor, he's a historical climatologist. Dr. Ball points out that 85% of the world's surface is not covered. And there are actually less weather sensing stations giving data into the, you know, the database that they use for the Global Historical Climatological Network than there was in 1960. And so, indeed, if we want to understand the climate, what we need to do is open up new weather stations and make more measurements, because you need that as the input to your climate models if you're going to have decent future forecasts. And you know, that would assume that your models actually work. But in this case, they don't even have the data to start out. So we don't actually know what's going on to a large extent right now.
You know, let me ask you this, Tom, in regards to their claim that, oh, my goodness, we're going to see so many worsening disasters. Oh, it's going to be terrible. I will maintain, and I will stand firm on this, that the horrendous California fires that we recently saw could have been curtailed much, much sooner, and they would have been much, much less severe if we, the United States, would have told the doggone environmentalists, back off. We're going to go in and clean up the deadfalls. We're going to clean up our forests, and we're going to make them more fire sensitive to the point where we're not going to have disasters like this. It wasn't global warming. Your thoughts?
Well, yeah. In fact, Dr. Ball and I have an article out today, and it's entitled "Extreme Wildfires Caused by Extreme Stupidity, not Global Warming." And, you know, we point out a few things in the article here. And first of all, you know, the environmentalists are saying that rising temperatures and increasing CO2, you know, the CO2 is going to drive rising temperatures and we're going to get more fires. But, you know, that's the exact opposite of reality, because both of those characteristics, rising temperatures and increasing CO2, they both act to increase the soil moisture and so reduce the potential of fires. And here's why. First of all, when temperatures rise, you have more evaporation, and that causes more rain, which increases soil moisture and so, again, lessens fire risk. And here's the other one. As CO2 rises, environmentalists should cheer, because the pores in plants' leaves don't have to be open for as long. They're open for a shorter period of time. And so the plants lose less water to the air, and so more of it stays in the soil. So the soil stays more moist, and again, you reduce the fire potential. But, you know, the interesting thing is that two things have happened, that we've upset the natural fire cycle in nature. I mean, nature normally has fires, and before Europeans got here, there were lots of fires. Okay, and in fact, they would burn, apparently, cover areas equivalent to a whole state, and they would only stop when they came to a natural barrier like the Mississippi. And typically, those kinds of fires would zip across the country. They called them crown fires. Okay, that's part of the natural forest fire cycle. They would burn through quickly, burning off the dead debris, but leaving most of the plants still alive. But when the governments decided to stop forest fires, they upset the natural balance entirely. Okay, so what they did is they stopped them, and they refused to clean out the underbrush, just like you're saying, because the environmentalists were saying, well, that's not natural. So the debris built up, and it left the forest as a tinderbox, all ready to ignite. Okay, so now what happens is they get what's called a base fire. Okay, often a base fire is created. These are very difficult to extinguish because they burn right into the ground, and days after they're supposedly out, they'll flare up again. So once again, extreme environmentalists have made things worse. Governments have made things worse. You know, we have to recognize that fires are part of the natural system. And in fact, it's interesting, Zeb, that there are certain seeds that require fires, actually, to germinate, okay? So these fires, and in fact, it's interesting, I was reading that in California, they are moving forward, and there is some sense. I don't know the details, but I believe the government's saying that we have to let some of these fires just burn. But certainly, if we're going to stop fires, we have to clean out the underbrush, natural or not.
What do they, and I've said this before to you, and you're probably sick of my asking a redundant question, but when you sit down, and I've talked to some of these people, and I say, okay, wait a minute, what do you want? Do you want an average mean temperature all around the globe of 70 degrees? Do you want a 70 in the daytime and maybe a 45 at night for the whole world? No, they want control. It's not the temperature. It's not anything except they want control of the people, where they go, what they can do, etc. Am I wrong?
No, I think you're quite right. In many cases, I mean, some of them actually believe that we're causing a climate crisis, and they haven't necessarily actually looked at the data, and they're not thinking either, because even this concept of a global average temperature is a silly one, because no one experiences a global average temperature. You experience temperatures in your region. I mean, think about it, Zeb. You could have half the world get 100 degrees hotter and half the world get 100 degrees colder, and that would be a disaster. I mean, it would be a complete mess, with all kinds of disturbances in the atmosphere. But the average temperature would be the same. It wouldn't change. So the average really doesn't mean anything, okay? But I do think you're right. I think that a lot of environmentalists look on this as a mechanism to control society. Because if you control carbon dioxide, then you control most of the world's energy. Because 80% of the world's energy is from fossil fuels, which generates, of course, CO2. Sorry. And so if you control the world's energy, to a large extent, you control the world.
Yep.
So indeed, this is a lot about world governance. It's a lot about controlling what we do and the freedoms we have.
Tom, let me ask you one more question, and this one really bothers me. I am afraid of 2020. I am afraid of what the Democrats and the Democratic Party are going to do. I am afraid that if they win, we're going to see the imposition of high standards for what's going to be carbon taxes for us, cutbacks on fossil fuels. Our agricultural programs are going to suffer. I am scared to death as to what the Democrats and their party might try to impose. Am I wrong in my fears?
No, I think you're right. In fact, there's this new contingent of Democrats that have come in who are pushing for things like the Green New Deal, and that, these kinds of things are scary because they don't work in a real society. I mean, you can't run the society on wind and solar power. Fossil fuels are what we need for a long time to come. And, I think the bottom line, though, is Trump had better take advantage of the fact that he's in presidency for one more step, and that is to get rid of the endangerment finding against CO2, because the Environmental Protection Agency, they judged that carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases were a danger to human health and welfare. And as a consequence, this is the underlying foundation for many of the actions that the Democrats will use when they get back into power. They'll use these things to bring back the Clean Power Plan, to bring back all sorts of rules and regulations, because CO2 is a danger to human health and welfare, according to the EPA. So Trump has to ask the EPA to revisit this and to use the latest science, things like the non-governmental International Panel on Climate Change, and people can check that out. Thousands of references showing the climate scare is not founded, but it's at climatechangereconsidered.org. Okay, climatechangereconsidered.org. And that's the kind of thing that President Trump and his administration should use to get the EPA to re-examine this whole idea that CO2 is in any way a problem.
Absolutely. I could go on and on, but I have other commitments on this program. Tom Harris, Executive Director of the International Climate Science Coalition, you are always welcome here, and I've got to say to you and yours a very Merry Christmas.
Yes, and Merry Christmas to you too, Zeb. Thank you.
God bless you, sir. Thank you very much. I really enjoy having this gentleman on my program, and believe me, he will be back. Right now, we've got to get to a weather forecast, and the weather brought to you by our friends at Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. They've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years with the best of tax return preparation, tax planning, retirement planning, business consulting. Please, I urge you to talk and make an appointment and go in and see them for you, your family, and your business. They are the best at what they do. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Here's Gina with the weather.
More snow is in the weather forecast, and we are in a winter weather advisory. Here's a look at your weather for Zeb at the Ranch. Mostly cloudy skies for this morning. We are expecting accumulations of up to 2 inches, and it's going to be breezy, so that means we're going to have some blowing snow throughout the day. We are expecting a high of 35 and gusts high as 35 miles an hour. For tonight, partly cloudy skies, still going to be breezy, so that means that blowing snow. Patchy freezing fog after midnight. Low expected right around 15, and winds out of the west up to 25 miles an hour. For tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, patchy freezing fog in the morning, expecting a high of 34, partly cloudy, and 22 for tomorrow night. By Friday, mostly sunny and 37. Looks like mostly cloudy for Friday night, low of 19. Then by Saturday, partly cloudy skies, highs expected in the mid-30s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Oh, Gina, thank you very much. Brought to everybody by Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company. They're the best. That's where I go, and I urge you for questions. And don't forget, it's close to the end of the year. Make sure your tax records for your business are all ready. Phillips Oaks Goodwin Crane and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert. Also, quickly want to give you some Merry Christmas wishes, and they're extended from Nature Nursery at 120 East Highway 81 in Burley. Home decor items, fresh-cut trees and artificial trees, outdoor lights, all of this and more for Christmas time at Nature Nursery at 120 East Highway 81 in Burley. Wishing you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Rogge Auction Company, I'm telling you, they are good. Ron, Kay, Jed, the best doggone auctioneers. And if you're selling farms or farm equipment, remember to call them at 431-0074. Rogge Auction Company, wishing you and yours a Merry Christmas. Along with my buddy, Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair at 635 21st Street in Heyburn. And Doug, great guy. He says, remember the real meaning of the season and also remember the senior centers. Doug's Alternator and Starter Repair in Heyburn, wishing you and yours a Merry, Merry Christmas. Wow. Let's see what else have we got cooking here. We're going to have a little change in the order of programming because of tomorrow. We're going to be at the old-fashioned Denny's Christmas party. Now, we're going to be on the air all 3 hours tomorrow over at Denny's. And I urge you to be in attendance. And we're going to have Christmas carols. We're going to have lots of prizes. We're going to have Santa Claus there. Yeah, he is. He's flying in. We're going to have Ashley Ludlow there providing the music. It's going to be from 8 to 11 at Denny's at 611 North Overland in Burley, Loot in the Boot to help some of the needy families. All of this at the Denny's Old-Fashioned Christmas Party tomorrow while we're on the air at Zeb at the Ranch. We'll be over there. We'll see you there, too. We're going to have a little change and add to the program this morning, Starving to Death. And if you're doing some Christmas shopping and are going around and you're hungry, I don't blame you. I know some great places to go if you're starving to death. How about the AC Drive-In at 601 East Main in Burley? Oh, my goodness. They got all the eggnog shakes, the pumpkin shakes. They've got the fish sandwiches, the shrimp baskets. They got the famous Farmer Brown burgers. I love those. And don't forget all the fries. Everything is delicious at the AC Drive-In, 601 East Main in Burley. Well, let's move on over to Taco Bandito at 2301 Overland in Burley. Oh, my. They've got pumpkin empanadas. Woo, they are good. Along with the breakfast burritos and the pork burritos. Oh, I mean, look at the menu. It's just going to knock your socks off. Delicious at Taco Bandito, 2301 Overland in Burley. Moving on over now to Burgers, etc. Oh, boy, not one, but two great locations, 124 South Oneida in Rupert and 700 Overland in Burley. They've got a different soup every day with the bread bowls, and they've got the pumpkin shakes and the eggnog shakes. And on Sundays at the Burley location, they've got shrimp dinners, only $5.99. Ho, ho, ho. And great people serving you at Burgers, etc. Two locations, Rupert and Burley. Well, now we'll move over to Steve-O's at 290 South, 600 West of Heyburn. Food made the way you love it. I'm telling you, if you want to give somebody a special Christmas present, give them a gift certificate from Steve-O's. Yeah, they'll think of you as the best person ever if you'll help them enjoy a great dining experience at Steve-O's. They've got those delicious buffalo burgers and the cheesy broccoli spuds. Oh, great people serving you at Steve-O's. 290 South, 600 West of Heyburn. And those are just a few great places to go if you're hungry and starving to death. I am. And coming up, we've got the Fish and Game Report this next hour, and we've got a new gentleman on the program this morning. Craig White is going to be in our studio, and we're looking forward to visiting with him on this Wednesday, December 12th. Wheels, if you would, and I'm imposing on you, you're not aware that I was going to ask you this, but how about playing maybe a good Christmas tune to take us up to the news, and we'll be back in about 7 or 8 minutes. Would you do that for me, buddy?
Yes, sir, I can.
All right, take it away. Well, good morning and welcome back. Hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch. And, of course, we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And it might be a doggone good day to get in there and check out the winter driving tires for your vehicle. And also our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. Want to remind you, too, that on Thursdays we have a segment on our show called Cassia County School Days at 10:10 on Thursdays. Tomorrow, being that we're doing the remote Christmas broadcast over to Denny's Restaurant, we're going to have, I believe, I'm not sure who's going to be on. I think Debbie's going to be on the air with us tomorrow over at Denny's. But we want to remind you the major sponsor is A Child's World at 1308 Overland and Burley for all your Christmas shopping. And boy, they've got a great store for Christmas shopping. All the clothes and the games and the books and the puzzles and the baby furniture, everything over there at A Child's World. 1308 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today. We are going to have right now, we should have had a mariachi band that would come in and parade up and down with their guitars and everything and their trumpets, because we got a new man that's going to represent the Idaho Fish and Game, and he's going to be on the air with us, and we say good morning to Craig White. How are you?
Hey, I'm great, Zeb.
Need you to get real close to that microphone.
Thanks, Zeb. I'm doing great. Good morning.
Let's tell everybody about who you are, what you do, and where you came from.
Well, that's a lot of information that you want over a little
Well, unless you're a wanted man at the post office, it'll be okay.
You never know.
Okay.
I do have some distant relationship to Butch Cassidy, so you never know.
Oh, my goodness.
But, yes, so Craig White, Regional Supervisor for the Magic Valley region. There's 7 regions is how the state's divided up by Fish and Game to administer fish and game opportunities to people. And I have the great opportunity to represent our director's office in the Magic Valley and make sure that our programs work with our program managers, those that do fish, wildlife, enforcement, education, work with them all to make sure our programs are serving the needs of the citizens of Idaho. It's a great job.
Now, you're the regional supervisor, right?
That's right.
Okay, now how many people are under you that represent the Fish and Game?
So I directly supervise about 6 people. And
6.
Yeah, and then indirectly under them, in the region, we have about 32 people.
I see. Is this region smaller, equal to, or larger than other regions?
Actually, this is geographically, this is the second largest region in the state of Idaho. The only larger region is the Southwest, and that goes from McCall down to, the Nevada-Oregon border. We go from Nevada-Utah border up to almost to Stanley. Just at the top there.
And you do that with 6 people?
Well, that's the 6 people I supervise are the program managers. Under them, they each have anywhere from a couple to 6 or 7. Or our enforcement conservation officer, the head guy in the region, Josh Royce, he supervises directly or indirectly 15 officers or so in the region. So, that's kind of ballparking it. But overall, there's quite a bit happening in the region.
Craig, did you always want to become a Fish and Game officer?
Well, no. I started out...
you wanted to be a banker, I'm sure.
A dentist, of all things.
Oh, no, wait a minute. I draw the line. You're not welcome here anymore.
Yeah, I had an uncle that was a dentist. I thought that was pretty cool. But I grew up basically roaming the desert, chasing lizards and jackrabbits and doing all the fun things kids do. And I didn't know you could make a living doing this until I got to college.
Really?
Yeah, and I took a few classes and found this, and I just found my passion.
Where'd you go to college?
I've actually spent quite a bit of time in college. I have a few degrees from Brigham Young University and a degree from the University of Georgia.
Georgia?
Yes, I'm still disappointed about how this football playoff went.
I was begging and I was pleading that Georgia would beat Alabama.
Oh, I was too.
Yeah.
It's been heartbreaking 2 years in a row.
Well, we should explain to everybody what the circumstances are. We had for years and years the incredible Bulk coming on this program, representing the Fish and Game in the name of Kelton Hatch. And Kelton said, "Go west, young man," and he took it up and decided that he was going to try another venture.
He did, and Kelton did a fantastic job.
Yes.
I'm going to miss Kelton. I was sorry to see him decide to pursue another adventure. He's going to be great at it. In the meantime, I was doing everything I could to try and entice him to stay. But
did you offer food?
Kelton went on a health kick about 6 months, a year ago, and so food right now isn't enticing to him.
Normally, when Deanne would offer cookies or any kind of cakes or muffins or anything, he'd follow you like a dog.
Yes, I wish that could have been the case, but he had a pretty strong willpower. And I offered him some things I thought would entice him, and I think he was appreciative that the department cared enough to try and keep him around. But at the end of the day, he just needed to do what he felt was right, and he had great opportunity, and so he took it.
You know what I like about this situation, I felt bad because Kelton left. We had a good rapport. But what I like about the situation with you and the Fish and Game, Kelton and myself, is that there's only good things to say and there's only good memories.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. That is fantastic.
Absolutely. Now, let's get to the situation at hand. We're here to talk about the Fish and Game for the great state of Idaho. Steelhead seasons. There ain't no way I'm going to stand and lean my fat old behind on a rock and fish in this kind of weather. Are they still fishing?
They are still fishing. In fact, it was fortunate enough that the steelhead season never closed. It was designed to close on December 7th.
Really?
By commission action, it was. There was a pending, the Fish and Game Commission and basically state authority was threatened to be sued over a permitting issue, and there was a compromise reached, some agreement between the communities and anglers and outfitters and these groups and the Idaho Fish and Game Commission, where we are going to keep, or the Fish and Game Commission is going to keep steelhead fishing open.
Open for?
Until the regular kind of ending of the season, typically in March.
In March?
Yep.
So what is the steelhead population? Must be pretty good.
Well, my understanding is this particular run isn't as good as some of the past runs, but, the real issue there was just that there needs to be a permit from the federal government to fish for steelhead, because you could incidentally catch a wild steelhead.
Yeah.
And while the chances of that steelhead dying is pretty small, it's less than 3% of the fish that's handled, is my understanding, that it's a drop in the bucket. And so it doesn't have an impact on wild steelhead, but since they are under the Endangered Species Act, it required a permit from the National Marine Fisheries Service.
I see.
And we had asked for that permit back in 2010. There's a backlog of permitting on their part.
You have to be, in my estimation, one tough dude to be a steelhead fisherman, don't you?
Boy, I lived up in Lewiston, and I'd watch those people on cold December mornings and January mornings out there on boats, and I'm thinking they are tougher than me.
I just don't understand. I've never done it, but I really haven't wanted to. So, anything else about the steelhead season?
Well, people should know that it's still in place, that there'll be one fish is the daily bag limit, 3 in procession, 20 total fish for the season. There is an area as part of this agreement that is going to be closed, actually 2 areas. One's on the main stem of the salmon.
Okay.
This is east of Riggins. It's the area from the Warren Creek to the Copper Mine boat ramp.
I know where it is.
A segment there that's going to be closed. But everything upriver of that, salmon, all the way up to
Can I ask you a dumb question there, Craig? How do they discern what areas to open up or not? I mean, why would there be closure in some areas of the river and not further down to the west of that point?
I wasn't privy to those discussions, Zeb, and so I really don't know why they chose that one and one other closure that's on the south fork of the Clearwater. When I look at those areas, to me, they seem the areas least fished, and so. Looking at it, to me, I think it's a great win for anglers and for those communities, because it doesn't affect Riggins and those communities right around it. When people go up there, they're fishing, north and south of Riggins. It doesn't affect over in the Kuski and all that area, because the other areas on the South Fork, basically from the Mount Idaho Grade Bridge upstream to Elk City, which from living up there was my experience of watching the river, was never an area that was highly fished. So I think this will have very little impact on anglers, and it's a great win for the community.
Well, the steelheaders, they ought to be very thankful for the extended season.
They ought to be. Speaking of Dennis, so my Dennis, he likes to steelhead fish, and I was going to see him in February, and I was kind of dreading it because I was going to hear about it, but now he can keep going.
Be honest with me. You said you were almost thinking about a career in dentistry. Why would you want to impose pain on so many people?
It's a funny way of saying it, because there's probably those that think as a Fish and Game employee I inflict pain on them all the time. So maybe it's just something about pain I like.
I had to go to the dentist day before yesterday. That's why this is funny. And I'm like a little kid. Mommy, I don't want to go. I kept telling my wife, I dragged my boot heels all the way across the carpet. You can go ahead and take a knife and you can cut me. It won't matter to me. I'll try to be John Wayne. But go to a dentist and I'm a sniveling coward. And it was really funny. I had to have a cavity filled. And I went in there and I never filled a thing. And when he was all done, he looked at me and he said, well, you can go now. And I said, are you done? I didn't even know he had finished, so all my fears for nothing.
Well, that's often the case.
Yeah, but I don't want to go back.
I don't blame you.
Anyhow, are you one of these guys with a fishing game that gets in a helicopter and flies around and leans out of a perfectly good flying aircraft, almost committing suicide? Why do you want to go on these helicopter surveys?
Well, I used to be that guy.
Oh, my gosh.
And it is fantastic. It gives you really a chance to see the area, and we do those helicopter surveys to manage the deer and elk populations. In fact, it's one of the best ways to do it. We're able to get good estimates of doe and fawn ratios, cow.
Yeah, Kelton had explained to me one time about how you do this. Now, tell me if I'm wrong. You take photos, right? Or you look at different sections, geographical sections, and take those numbers. Tell me how you do this.
So what we do is we take our game management units, and there's over 99 in the state, and the ones that have wintering deer or elk in it, we take that portion of the game management unit that typically, well, we take the whole unit, and we divide it up into little sub-units. And in those
like squares on a puzzle or something?
More or less, they often follow drainages. So we'll go from one ridge to the other ridge so that we have the drainage in the middle.
I see.
And we'll fly from ridge down through the drainage and maybe to the other ridge. Sometimes they're kind of, a mountain like black pine. We don't necessarily fly that, but that's a good example for people around here. We'd make sure we fly the whole mountain using the contours.
Right.
So we'll do it at 200 to 500 feet intervals following the contours of the mountain.
Right.
And just go all around the mountain. Now, some areas are, we know they're going to be low numbers of deer and elk, and you don't do all of those. You do all the subunits that have high density where they're wintering. And that way you get most of the animals counted. And we have some statistics and math and a model involved in this that allows us to essentially fly all the highs, fly quite a few of the medium density subunits, fly some of the low subunit densities, and we know what causes us to miss elk, such as them just bedded down, not moving, or in trees. And this has all been worked out in the past, and we're able to correct for what we miss.
What do you think your percentage of accuracy is?
We might fly a subunit or a unit, a game management unit or a zone, and count 2,000 elk, and we know that we're probably, depending on the weather, because snow helps us. If we fly in a good winter as far as snow, we might have a plus or minus of 600 animals.
Really?
In an area that's tougher, it could be a little higher than that, but we might 2,000 animals plus or minus 600.
So you literally go up in a helicopter, and you said you're like 200 feet off the ground?
200 to 500. We try to keep it close to 500.
Yeah, I would imagine. And then you literally are sitting there leaning out the helicopter going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right?
Yeah, a little faster than that. Usually like
they're slow moving, and they're laying down. Why should I count any faster?
Well, the tough part is with deer. Those things will start running on you, and we don't want to stir them up, but they might be running. That's how we notice them, is that they're running out underneath us. And if they're in a big pile, you got to count them pretty fast. Elk are even worse because elk tend to even stay in larger groups of 4 or 5 or 600 in the winter.
So the benefit to the fish and game, and then also conversely back to the sportsman, is what from these surveys?
So these surveys are kind of the gold standard in the West to estimate your deer and elk populations. And because we have these estimates, we're able to monitor whether populations are going up or down, especially when we look at the young to adult ratio. We can not only tell what's happening this year, but what our population may be this next coming fall.
Oh, I see.
And when we see that we have a lot of younger animals, we know that during the harvest, the fall season, a good portion of that harvest is on 1 and 2 year old bucks or bulls, and we're able to adjust if we need to. We're able to adjust tag numbers, and that could be up or down depending on what the population is doing over time.
You couldn't get me enough money to stay up in a helicopter and do that. I bet it's great and scenic, but yet kind of dangerous, too.
Well, I always tell people I'd rather be in a helicopter because they can auto-rotate than an airplane if something goes bad.
Amen. I'm not trying to get through we got a lot of subjects here this morning. Craig White is with us with the Idaho Fish and Game, and we certainly appreciate his kind of taking over and coming over here to the ranch. We're going to talk about, upland game birds. What's the topic going to cover this morning?
Well, I just want to mention to folks in this region, pheasants are still open until December 31st.
I didn't know that. I thought it closed.
Nope, they're open until December 31st. Now, in the salmon, upper snake, and southeast region, they did close at the end of November. But here and in the southwest, they're open until December 31st. Of course, after December 31st, you can still hunt chuckers and quail, California bobwhite, until January 31st.
What has been the response, if you will, of the pheasant hunting season this year? Has it been as usual, a little better, a little worse, what?
You know, what I'm hearing is it's been a little harder for chuckers, and that actually pheasants seem to be up a little bit this year. And just around my place over in Filer, I've seen more pheasants around than I did last year.
Right out here in this field this year, honestly, I don't know if it's because they put a pivot out here or what, but man, there were a lot of pheasants right up here by my fence lines. And I can say that I thought that the seeing of pheasants this past summer going into the fall was at least 25% higher. That's my own personal opinion.
I'm hearing that a lot, Zeb, so I think you're right on.
Yeah. Everything, any changes with the upland game takings, any changes of seasons, anything else you want to discuss on that?
No, I was just going to mention, if pheasants aren't your thing or are getting... forest grouse is open until December 31st as well, but you ought to get that in too before the end of the year. With Christmas coming off, it's a great time to take a day or afternoon, go do it.
Well, I tell you what, every Saturday morning, my only day that I can sleep in just a little bit instead of getting up at 3:45 in the morning, I am welcomed to real life by the bang, 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 bang going on at Murtaugh Lake. So the waterfowl season must be still in great effect.
Yes, the waterfowl season's just picking up, so you're going to be kept awake for a while.
The ducks and the geese, they fly over my place, say, "Hey, get up, get out of bed." Man, it's really loud over at Murtaugh Lake.
Yeah, and the northern birds are starting to come in pretty strong. We're seeing it at Niagara Wildlife Management Area. You're seeing it here. Just a reminder to people, though, that they do need a migratory bird permit from Idaho Fish and Game, and that goes till December 31st, our permit. And so come January 1st, that waterfowl season's still going. Don't forget to get a new license. Don't forget to get your migratory bird permit from Idaho. You also need a duck stamp from the federal government. This is the Migratory Bird and Conservation Stamp, and that permit runs from July 1st to June 30th. So you'll be okay if you get your license and your permit from us come January 1st, and the federal permit will be still good till June. So if you already have that, you're good. You just want to kind of keep that with your new license and new tag.
I can honestly say that some nights when I'm done feeding my cattle and everything, and I'll sit out there on the bench in front of my barn, it's amazing to see literally thousands and thousands of geese and ducks that are headed towards Murtaugh Lake for the night. Unbelievable sight out there.
Yeah, it's, waterfowl is such a beautiful thing to watch, and it's one of the few things in the winter that you can kind of do from your window. Everything else is burrowed somewhere under the snow or,
that's right,
or in the trees. So
we've got a caller with a question for you, Craig. Good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yes, good morning. I'm a person that went in after the 1st of December and tried to get a hunting license. And the place I went to didn't want to sell me one because I'm a handicapped person. They said they couldn't do it. I could go to 2 other places here in town that I cannot get into. There's no way in this world I ever could. It seems ridiculous that I can't buy my permit when I want to at a place I can go to rather than somewhere I can't.
Jerry, I'm kind of taken aback by that. You mean to tell me that you went into a couple of businesses and they said that they couldn't sell you the permit?
Not sell the handicapped hunting license or fishing permit.
Okay, I'm going to put Craig on with me right now. Craig, is there a reason, perhaps, or something we're not hearing or seeing?
Well, first of all, I'm apologetic to Jerry, too, that is a hardship. The only thing I can think of right off the bat, Zeb, is there is some forms that sometimes is associated with that, and I apologize, I don't know all the details, Jerry, but there are some
form out. I've got a sticker that shows I am handicapped. I've done this 2 or 3 times over the years because I haven't been able to walk for about 7 years.
Right, and did you do it at that location before? Have you always come into the fishing game office?
Jerome.
Yeah.
Going to the fishing game there, and it's almost impossible for me to get in there.
Yeah, and I was afraid that was the challenge there, the hurdle there.
A current handicapped sticker, but it doesn't show up on my hunting license.
Yeah, so there's a few things such as that, and a few other things that we have to handle at the Fish and Game office. I don't know, to be honest, all the details as to why we have to do it there, but because of the paperwork required, our vendors that normally sell licenses, it's another step, another little place on the system that we have to be the ones that authorize that, and I'm afraid that's the situation here.
Is there a way, for the sake of the program, to not belabor this subject, but is there a way that Jerry could call you after the program over at the office and try to make some kind of amends to get this taken care of?
Yeah, let's see if we can't do that, and I have that number. It's 208-324-4359, and Sally Rose is our office manager over there. She does a fantastic job, and she understands the ins and outs of this all the time. I really rely on her, and if there's a way we can kind of get this resolved without having Jerry have to come in, let's try and do that.
Great. Jerry, thank you for your call, and they'll do all they can to help you, I guarantee it. Thanks.
Okay, I appreciate that.
All right, buddy.
Have a wonderful day, and may the Lord bless.
He already has. Thank you very much, Jerry. I appreciate it. I got to pay some bills here real quick, and then we're going to take a little break and then come back with more with the Fish and Game on Zeb at the Ranch. Merry Christmas wishes from our dear friend, Speaker of the House, Representative Scott Bedke of District 27, a rancher up in Oakley along with his family. He says to you, his constituents, thank you very much for all you do, and Merry Christmas to you and your families. Along with Rick over at Mountain Transmissions at 1146 East Main in Burley, number to call 678-9110. Don't forget, they at Mountain Transmissions are your one-stop transmission repair facility, wishing you a very Merry Christmas. And the Baker Boys, I'll tell you, at Pump Service, they are the best at what they do at 103 West 500 South in Burley. Absolutely same-day service. I can attest to that. They can and they will help you. The Baker Brothers at Pump Service, 103 West, 500 South in Burley. And along with Minnecash Sales, Zach and the whole crew, you need new flooring, doors, whatever. They've got low overhead, which means lower prices for you. Zach and everybody at Minnecash Sales, 1321 East Main in Burley, wishing you and yours Merry, Merry Christmas. We're going to be back right after about 3 minutes over at our main studios with more with the Idaho Fish and Game.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Well, thank you very much and welcome back. I want to remind everybody quickly, the Four Paws Bed and Bath is going to have their big Christmas party coming up this Saturday from noon to 2 p.m. at 370 West 200 South of Rupert. Take your dogs and your kitty cats and your pets into the Christmas party and put them on Santa's lap and get a picture taken. Yep, free picture. I can just see all the Dobermans and the St. Bernards and everything sitting on Santa's lap. There's going to be free food for everybody, and you can spin the wheel to win prizes at Four Paws Christmas Party this coming Saturday the 15th from noon to 2, and the number to call for more information, 438-4444. Got a new man heading up the trail drive for the Idaho Fish and Game, and that's Craig White, and he's with us in the studio. Good morning again, Craig. Thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for being here, Zeb. It feels like I'm eating a lot of trail dust right now, so I must be bringing up the drag.
No, we're not having you ride drag. You can ride flank for a while here in the snow, but I want to ask you a little bit about purchasing 2019 licenses. Here's my question. Is there a way that, like, grandparents can buy hunting licenses and fishing licenses for their grandchildren?
Yes, they can. They can come in, and for anyone under 18, if they're a child or grandchild, you can come in and purchase their license. Or if you don't know all the information about them, usually it just takes their name and a birthday or name and a social security. But if you don't know their information, or you want it to be a surprise, you don't want them to get the idea that you're getting them something, get them a gift certificate. So you can get them that's a great Christmas gift. You get them the gift certificate, they bring it back into the office, and then they exchange it for a tag or license.
So they'd have to go to the Fish and Game office.
They do have to bring those into the Fish and Game office, but we're really delightful people, handsome, good-looking people. So it's not bad to come into our office.
Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, a self-description of really all the benefits of the Fish and Game. Right? Okay. No, but I didn't know if you could go to a licensed vendor or not.
No, you can't. Those gift certificates have to be brought back to Fish and Game. Now, I'm sure you could go to a licensed vendor. A lot of them have their own cards, not to promote any, but let's take Walmart or Sportsman's Warehouse. They have their own cards. You can get them a $25 card on Walmart or Sportsman's Warehouse. They could take it in and get a license with that. Or you just, if you want it to be, a Fish and Game gift certificate, come into our office in Jerome.
Craig, are the costs for the licenses going up? I mean, can you give us any of the variables on the cost factors for 2019?
Well, they're not going up if you're locked in. So about 2 years ago, you may recall, the legislature agreed to what we call price lock. And basically for at least a 5-year period, if you continue to buy a license every year, you kept the same price. Now, if you skip a year and you come back, you're going to have to pay a little bit of an increase in your license. But you can be locked in, and that was set for a 5-year period. Whether they continue it beyond that, I don't know. But for the next few years, as long as you keep buying a license every year, you'll be locked in at the same price.
Okay.
And it's a great deal. Now, I'll give you a little secret. If you forgot, perhaps, this year to get a license and you're a little panicky, you can do a 3-year license for January 2019, and you can buy those licenses now. One of your callers mentioned he's trying to get his license.
Right.
You can get your 2019 license now, and if you're panicked because you forgot to buy a 2018 license and you don't want your price of your license to go up, get a 3-year license. It'll lock you back into that same price.
Oh, I see. So it's kind of retroactive.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Now, the cost of licenses, I've kind of been a buffer zone sometimes on this program, people complaining about the cost and everything, but really when you break it down, the cost of being able to go hunt and fish basically 365 days out of the year, it's pretty minimal.
Yeah, I mean, I get a combination hunting, fishing license every year, and so you're talking roughly around the $30 price range for that for a resident. Yeah. I can't take my wife into a movie without paying $30 between the 2 tickets and popcorn. I'm over $30, and I get 2 hours of watching.
And that's a one-time shot.
One-time shot, 2 hours. We have we have turkey seasons in the spring. We have fall seasons that pretty much start in August and go through December. So that's quite a bit of entertainment.
And really, if people before they step up and complain to you and other Fish and Game members, well, the costs are going up and everything else, really prorate it with other activities and other avocations that you do, and you're going to find out that it's a drop in the bucket.
Oh, absolutely. I can fish all year.
Absolutely.
And if I just want a fishing license, that's, almost half that of the combination. And
that's right.
When I say half, once again, we're talking a $30 price range for the combination,
Absolutely.
Hunting and fishing.
Speaking of fishing, I noticed on the sheet that you gave me, you've got fishing regulations? Are there going to be some changes or something?
Yeah, so on the fishing, we run on a 3-year cycle. So we set the Idaho Fish and Game Commission sets those seasons, those at a 3-year cycle. And they just recently did that. There is not much change in the Magic Valley area, but there's 3 I wanted to mention. So in Billingsley Creek, we had a trout restriction that was lifted. It was 2 fish, 20-inch minimum. Now its general rules apply, so that's more than 2 fish and not the 20-inch minimum. So quite a bit more opportunity in Billingsley Creek. We also, up on the Bigwood River below Magic, there was a bass length limit, and it was removed. This is between the Richfield Canal and the Magic Dam. So rules are now 6 fish any size. So in both of those cases, more opportunities.
Yeah.
And then in Silver Creek, there's 3 sections there. Used to be able to, it's catch and release, and it used to be till the end of February. We've extended that catch and release to the end of March. So in 3 sections, basically between Highway 93, the crossing east of Peekaboo, upstream to the Kilpatrick Bridge, you can now fish till March 31st, catch and release up there.
Is, not to get off the subject here, but is Silver Creek still one of the most renowned trout fishing streams in the state of Idaho?
Well, absolutely. I mean, we'd like to probably, when I say we, the locals here in Idaho would like to keep it a secret, but it hasn't been a secret for a long, long time.
What makes it so good?
I think part of it is just the area. I mean, you just can't.
The scenic value?
Yes, you just can't beat that. But it also has some fantastic big fish. But they're also as hard to catch as there are. They're pretty spoiled fish, and you really have to put down the fly just right.
I was going to ask you, is that fly fishing only?
Pretty much is. My wife, she's a local girl. She grew up in Jerome till she was about 14, and her parents are common folks, blue collar workers. They moved up to Wood River Valley where she went to high school, and that's where she really kind of started learning to fly fish is up there, and that's a tough place to fish.
Let me tell you, fat guys on crutches trying to get waders and get out into a stream and fly fish. Ain't going to happen, Craig. Ain't going to happen. I tried it once, and let's just say it was a wreck looking for a place to happen.
Well, that image, that kind of scared me a little bit, but I think you'd be just fine, Zeb.
It was something about the going back and forth with the line, and you're on crutches, and all of a sudden you lose your balance, and you end up being waterlogged.
Yes, but I bet you're better than you say.
Well, I never was really proficient at it, and that's one thing I've told Kelton many times on this program, is that over the years I got away from fishing, and I want to get back into it again, whether it's spinning, whether it's fly fishing, whatever. It really cleanses your mind.
It really does.
You like to fish?
I do.
Yeah.
I tell people I'm honest. My wife is more of the angler in the family. She even has tied flies.
Really?
She taught me how to, fly fish. I don't do it very well, not because the teacher wasn't great, just it was the student.
You're more of a Jeremiah Johnson hunter type?
I am. I am more of the hunter.
Okay. What about, you've got a little category here that says more on fishing opportunities. What do you mean?
Well, you mentioned maybe jumping right back in the stream isn't where you want to start. Well, I don't know if people knew this, but up in Burley they have the Freedom Fishing Pond.
Yeah.
And it had kind of gotten to a point where it really needed some work, and I just want to give kudos to the community up there. There's some leaders up there that really took the initiative, and they've really made that into a nice pond. They dug it out. They did some work. There was and we stocked it with fish this summer, and it was going great. There was some reason we had a fish die off, and we've investigated that. It was we think kind of an unusual thing, and I want to let people know it's restocked again.
Good.
And so it's up and open. Ice fishing on Mormon Reservoir, their last report, and this was about a week and a half ago.
You're not going to talk me into doing any ice fishing.
Come on,
no
Zeb.
way. Listen, man, I'm from Wisconsin. And that should tell you the whole story right there. That is the coldest place that God ever created, along with Minnesota. And to go out on the ice and sit there from 6 in the morning until 6 at night in those little shanties and come home completely blue, don't give me that's great sport.
I thought there was, heaters in those little shanties. Some of those are pretty good.
Yeah, which makes me also question the sanity of an ice fisherman to go out and start a fire or something on ice.
Yeah.
All the fall through.
I have to actually agree with you on that one, that it just, they're talking an inch and a half up on Mormon Reservoir. This was a week and a half ago. And, of course, with the cold weather, it's probably gotten thicker. But I thought, there's no way I'm going on ice that's an inch and a half thick.
These people back in Wisconsin, back where I was raised, Lake Kushkonong is a huge lake right next to where I was born and raised. And they will drive $70,000 and $80,000 trucks out on the ice, and I'm thinking these people need to be put in a home. They should be put in a straitjacket, because at least 10 per year go right through the ice.
Yeah, I don't know what people are thinking. They must have money to spare if they're willing to drive those $70,000 trucks, or they take those 10 to 20,000 snowmobiles out on ice too.
Gosh, I know it. We got to do a weather forecast here, and then we're going to come back and talk about moose and sheep and goats and everything. Weather is brought to you this hour by Scarro's Meats. Don Scarrow and the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. All the delicious meats, whether it's the tri-tips or whether it's the marinated pork ribs or all the bratwurst, whatever, it's all great. It's all for you. Scarro's Meats in Jerome, 324-7657. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
More snow is in the weather forecast, and
we're running out of time quick. I'm enjoying it.
Here's a look at your weather for
it goes
the ranch. Mostly cloudy skies for this morning. We are expecting accumulations of up to 2 inches, and it's going to be breezy, so that means we're going to have some blowing snow throughout the day. We are expecting a high of 35 and gusts high as 35 miles an hour. For tonight, partly cloudy skies, still going to be breezy, so that means that blowing snow. Patchy freezing fog after midnight. Low expected right around 15, and winds out of the west up to 25 miles an hour. For tomorrow, mostly sunny skies, patchy freezing fog in the morning, expecting a high of 34, partly cloudy, and 22 for tomorrow night. By Friday, mostly sunny and 37. Looks like mostly cloudy for Friday night, low of 19. Then by Saturday, partly cloudy skies, highs expected in the mid-30s. That's a look at your weather forecast for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you very much, Gina, and that is the weather brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Don Scarrow and the crew, they wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas. And remember, they're changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. I want to talk to you a little bit. Craig White's on the program with the Idaho Fish and Game. More on the moose, sheep, and goat seasons. Are they still open?
The seasons aren't open, but what's coming up is, I mentioned the fishing regulations are on 3-year cycles.
Yeah.
Moose, sheep, and goats are on 2-year cycles, and so the Commission this January will decide if they want to make any changes to any of the moose, sheep, goat seasons.
I see.
How that works is the department gathers information both from public comments as well as from biological data, doing surveys and all that. And through the years, the 2 years, we'll formulate ideas, decide if there ought to be any changes, or at least propose changes. And so what we're coming up to is that period where the public will have a chance to weigh in on any of our proposals. And in this region, we are proposing some changes to some of the moose, sheep, and goat seasons. And so it's important you get on our website, and if they're not there, they soon will be, the proposed changes, as well as on December 20th, so this is next Thursday, December 20th, from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. at our regional office, you can come in and talk to our biologist and our manager and discuss any proposals, as well as bring any of your ideas forward.
Okay, now let me ask you this. Moose. I've had my close encounter of third kind with a moose up in the South Hills a couple of years ago. I've got a lot of respect for moose, let me tell you. Are the numbers increasing to the point where we're going to have more permits for the moose up in the South Hills or not next year?
That's the proposal. We have seen an increase in moose. And
those are the biggest, ugliest, dumbest things, and dangerous.
Yes. Hey, we moved several out of Burley, Pelosi twin area this spring, and they just seem to be kind of spreading out, which to us tells us, hey, there's plenty of moose up there if they're trying to spread out into the Snake River Plain.
Do we have any bighorn sheep relatively close to this area?
We used to have some over in the Cottonwood Wildlife Management area that's down towards Oakley.
Right.
It was an introduction that over the years just never completely
Were those the same ones that might have migrated from Jim Sage?
Well, we think there has been some migration between, some movements between those two populations. They really are distinct populations, but we think there has been enough movements that our proposal, since we pretty much have no sheep in Cottonwood anymore, is to make that area part of the Jim Sage hunt.
I see.
And that way, if there's any transients, is what we call them, that move from Jim Sage back over to Cottonwood, people could harvest them if it's a nice ram that they are interested in.
So we better urge everybody that wants to make suggestions or recommendations to be at that meeting at the Idaho Fish and Game office on Highway 93 or 75 next Thursday the 20th. And what are the times?
From 4 p.m. to 8 p.m.
4 p.m. to 8 p.m. And if they want to call, they can call 324-4359, right?
Yep. They can also call in and give us some input that way. Just ask for our wildlife manager or one of the biologists or myself, and we're happy to take input.
Craig, what about there's a section here on the sheet, I'm not sure about, big game meat donations?
Yeah, so it got some attention recently in the paper. People may not realize that when there's meat that's confiscated, someone poaches an animal, or somebody goes out without a tag and harvests an animal, that meat, once we get through the court system, we take care of the meat, so it's handled properly, and that meat goes out to the needy. And there's other ways too that people are benefited. I wanted to mention one of those, Idaho Hunters Feeding the Hungry. It's a statewide program, but it really has kind of been centered out of the Magic Valley region, and when I say region, this area, because it's a voluntary program that others lead, but they do a fantastic job. And this is where hunters who maybe they end up harvesting a little more meat than they need, or they have some meat in their freezer, well taken care of meat from past years that is still really good, but they have more meat than their freezers can handle, or maybe they just don't eat as much as they harvest. They can take this meat to the Idaho Hunters Feeding the Hungry people.
Now, how would they find out who to call?
The best way to go is on the website, on the web. Just look up Idaho Hunters Feeding the Hungry.
Okay.
They could also call our office. We have some of the group leaves some of their information with us, contact information, and if they call our office, we can also look that up for them.
We have a caller with a question. Caller, quickly, you're on the air. Go ahead, please.
He's on the radio, and I have a question.
Go ahead, sir.
I have a question for the Fish and Game. Why can't we buy a Idaho senior fishing license? Why do we have to have a combination?
Okay, well, Craig, you want to answer that question on the air?
Well, sure. I can see all the callers are going to stump me with licensing questions, which my background is a wildlife biologist, but I don't know why they've set up certain licenses. I mean, there's licenses for seniors and disabled. There's licenses for youngers. And as far as what kind of combinations came through the system years ago, as far as working with the legislature, working with the Idaho Fish and Game, I don't know why they stuck to certain levels or certain opportunities. So did I answer the question as to why they stuck to the opportunities? No, I do not know the answer to that. But
would there be an opportunity for this gentleman to call, like, the office over there? And is there someone there that could help him on the licensing and answer that question on the seniors?
Yeah, once again, Sally Rose over there, 208-324-4359.
Good.
She knows our licenses and pricing system inside and out. And, we can help him figure out what would best meet his needs.
Very good.
But whether we have every opportunity, people also ask us, why don't, we have youth hunts. Why don't we have senior hunts?
Yeah.
people always want some specialization on down that just isn't doable.
If you had a senior hunt like I'm involved, you'd never harvest any animals. I'm the worst shot in the world.
Well, maybe we ought to just have a Zeb Bell hunt then.
Please, leave a section just for me, and maybe somebody might run into one of my bullets. I have no idea.
Well, you remind me a lot like Patrick McManus, the author of Idaho.
Yes. Yes.
It's one of those things where the game know he's coming and they disappear from the country.
I absolutely, I'm getting better than I used to be, but still, a shotgun in my hands to ask me to hit the broadside of a barn, it's challenging.
Yes.
Thank you. I've got to pay some bills. We're going to have some final thoughts with Craig in just a minute. We're going to quickly talk about deer on winter range. I want to remind everybody about our major sponsor, and that's, of course, all 7 of your Magic Valley Les Schwab tire centers. All 7 that really serve you with the best of your tires for wintertime driving. All the tread designs, all the sizes for your cars, pickups, SUVs, everything. Right there at all 7 locations. And don't forget the best in brake service with highly trained brake technicians, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, everything for you with the best in service. They want to get you back on the highway and have you enjoy your day. You stop in and see Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab tire centers. Real quick, deer on winter range. I've got 1 minute left.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind people that deer will be headed winter range if they're not already there. And when they get there, please, people like to get out and recreate, and that's great. But please, any pets that you have, especially dogs, please keep them under control. Don't let them chase or harass wildlife on public land. It's actually illegal.
And do the same with the fish and game officers. Don't chase and harass them.
Yeah, don't chase them. I was also going to mean don't start feeding wildlife either.
And don't feed your fish and game officer.
I was going to mention that. Please do not feed them as well.
Man, they'll be on your porch pretty quick. They'll be in your kitchen. You can't get rid of them.
Oh yeah, they'll just move in. They get habituated as quick as the wildlife.
Hey, you did good.
Well, thank you.
You did real good. And we, of course, miss old Kelton. We wish him the best. And we had Craig White from the Idaho Fish and Game, Regional Supervisor, on the program this morning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Zeb.
And may I extend to you and your family 5 kids, right?
That's right. We have 5
ranging
kids.
in age from 18 to 5.
18 to 5.
Have you even started your Christmas shopping?
Fortunately, I'm blessed to married an angel, and she handles that aspect of it. Shopping is not my favorite thing.
Oh, man, can't get me to do it.
That's right.
Can't get me to do it. My idea of shopping is to pull up in front of a store, walk in, get whatever's laying there close to the door, pay for it, and get out.
That sounds like you and I could shop together.
Absolutely. Have a good one and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, you too.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, that's going to wrap it up and put it back in the box for today. We're going to be back tomorrow at Denny's Restaurant for the old-fashioned Christmas party at Denny's. All 3 hours. Tomorrow's program, 8 to 11. Ashley Ludlow with the music. Santa Claus is going to be there. Christmas carols, all kinds of great food. You're going to love it. Tomorrow at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. Until tomorrow morning at 8:06, God bless, and remember the way things were, the way things ought to be, and the world needs more cowboys. See you tomorrow morning.